Hello and welcome to another Crochet Swatch Saturday. Are you excited to find out what we're working up today? Well, good news. For those of you that are Hobby Lobby fans, and I know not all of you are, but for those of you that are, we are going to be testing out the Yarn Bee Soft Secret. And if you're in the know, you know that that is kind of a comparable version to Caron's Simply Soft. I think that's what it's called. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of a swatch with this one too, just to kind of do a little mini comparison. It's not going to be a true, like, full on. We're mostly reviewing the Simply Soft Secret. That one. Let's see how many times I get that wrong. So this is the one we're going to be testing out today. If you've never watched one of these review videos, I just want to let you know that you can jump ahead to the actual numbers at the end of the video, or secret, you can just look down below and I put them all down there as well. For those of you that are like, too long, did not read, it's there. It's all good for you. But I give you a lot of tips and secrets and kind of insights that don't show up in the numbers if you stay and watch the whole video. So I strongly suggest you do that. And on a new note, I know the last video had our new rating system, but we're expanding that. If you didn't notice, this is going to be our Ribbit-o-Meter, and we're going to rate it with up to 5 granny squares, and then we're going to round it. So if it's like 4.2, we're going to round down and that kind of thing, just so that we can have kind of a fun little thing. So we're going to do the Ribbit-o-Meter. And that's going to be how we're going to score everything. I'm fine-tuning these as we go, so stay tuned and they'll get better and better. All right, so we have our full skein over there, and if you're really savvy, you noticed the pricing on our label. This is actually old stock that I've had for probably 2 years now, and so it was priced at $4.99 when I bought it. It is now at $5.99, and I believe that is just kind of inflation, might be tariffs, who knows. Okay, so the Yarn Bee Soft Secret, this is in the colorway Bright Blue, which I'm 99% sure is still available. It comes as a 6-ounce skein with 300 yards. And it's sold by Hobby Lobby. So if you smart, every other week, Hobby Lobby does a 30% discount. So even though it's $5.99 now, you can get 30% off of that. If it's not on sale this week, it will be on sale next week. It is 100% acrylic. It is rated as a medium worsted weight. It is machine washable. Warm, gentle, or delicate cycle. So not hot water, but anything else. Don't bleach it, don't iron it, don't dry clean it, but it is tumble dry. And that's on normal or low heat. You don't want super hot heat for that. It is recommending a 5mm crochet hook. So we are going to grab our trusty crochet hook here. I am using this one because I do not have my favorite, which is the Clover Soft Touch in a 5mm. I need to buy that. Now, on first impression, the feel of this yarn is it is so much softer than a traditional acrylic yarn. It is probably one of the softest standard types of acrylic yarns that I have ever felt. So there is definitely a real appeal to it for me in that factor. This color is absolutely stunning. I also have it in this shale color. So all of the colors have quite a little bit of a shine or a sheen to them. And they're a little more vibrant and rich than a lot of the traditional yarns might be. I think that's a win. I like that shine to it. In fact, the reason that I bought this originally, especially this blue, was because I was making one of the amigurumi balloon dogs for my husband. And so I wanted something that had a little bit of a shine to it to kind of get that fun balloony kind of effect to it. So I did pick up something for that reason, and it was really early in my crochet journey. So I have had this for a bit, and I have made that balloon dog. I'll show you when I'm done here. So that's one of the things you got to wait around for. As we work through the single crochets, oh my goodness, my hook is dirty. Anyway, I digress. I want to point out a few of the characteristics of this yarn and some of the things that I noticed on doing some research. One is that it does not rate very well overall. On the Hobby Lobby website, it rates as a 3.7 out of 5. And on Ravelry, it rates as a 4 out of 5. That's not very good. So some of the things that people said about it is that it's very slippery. And I can tell you right off the bat that it definitely does have a slippery nature to it. Now, I don't have any wooden hooks. I might try this with a wooden hook because from my understanding, if you use a wooden hook with a slippery yarn, it improves your result overall. And since we don't have any wooden hooks, we're just going to keep going with the metal hook that I have here. So the slipperiness and the splitting were two of the things that people said. I don't mind slippery yarn. Really, it's not something that bothers me that much. So I don't know that, I mean, I might put that in the concerns as far as giving it a deduction. But it's definitely something that if slippery yarn is not your friend, you're not going to want to use this yarn. It does come in 48 different colors. That's actually a pretty decent number of colors. I'm going to modify my color ratings to be a little bit more consistent because I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place and I'm just kind of like, whatever I feel like giving it this time. So what I'm going to do going forward is if it has 75 or more colors, I know that seems like it's impossible for anything to, but I know there are yarns out there that do, I'm going to give it 5 stars. If it has 50 to 74, it's going to be 4 stars. If it's 25 to 49, it'll be 3 stars. And if it's 10 to 24, it'll be 2 stars. And 1 star will be if there's less than 10 of that color. I feel a little bit like this is an unfair rating because there are some yarns that just aren't going to have that many colors, whereas like acrylics tend to have more color variety. But it's the only way that I can really see that rating being fair overall. And I said stars, I meant granny squares because that's how we're rating it. So there you go. And I don't know. I will maybe, we'll kind of consider that and keep going as we kind of figure it out. All right, so we have our 3 rows here already done. Did I do 3? No, that's 2. Counting. Yes, I think that's 2. Anyway, I'm going to do 1 more just for giggles because I can, and then we will move on to our double crochet. And then once we do the double crochet, which I usually don't do a lot of talking in the double crochet, we'll see. If I don't, I just kind of put it to some music and we do some high-speed kind of montage type scenario, and we'll see where it goes. I am not noticing any splitting on this. Now, I would love to know. I still want to do some sort of official research on this somehow, but there is still a lot of people that say if a yarn splits for people that are left-handed, it won't for people that are right-handed, and vice versa. And then there are just yarns that just don't split. But generally speaking, if right-handed people have an issue with splittiness, left-handed people don't. So let's snip that off. I need to get some rubber scissors for this because there's always quite that clang, isn't there? All right, so here we go. Here is our single crochet, and there's yeah, it's some curl. The curl is kind of my drapiness factor test. So let's go ahead and do our double crochet and see how that turns out as far as crochet drapiness and all that good stuff. And then we will do a little bit of a test comparing this to some leftover Caron Simply Soft that I have, just to see if there is a good comparison, how it kind of feels overall together and all that good stuff, because I like to do a little bit of when there's something that's comparable, I like to do sort of a side-by-side comparison of it for you. It's not going to be where I actually do this whole review and compare it on the Caron Simply Soft, but I'll give you some overall opinions. Whoops. I see that was a sign of that slippiness. I lost my stitch, and that is definitely something that can happen with slippier, and there there I got a little bit of a split. And I think it was because I was trying to focus a little too much there. So if you are someone who likes your yarn to you don't have to think about it, you just go, then the slippiness and the splitting on this are going to be a problem for you. So let's go ahead and get a couple more rounds of this done, and then we will compare it to the Caron Simply Soft. So we are done with the double crochet on this, and we still have a little bit of that curl overall. Acrylic I don't think is really known that much for a good drape anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and compare that, but let's introduce the Caron Simply Soft here, and we'll do a quick swatch, just a single crochet swatch. On first impression, the Simply Soft is not as soft as the Soft Secret. It definitely has a little bit more of that acrylic feel to it, and it doesn't have quite the shine to it that this does, which may or may not be a good thing for you. You might not like the shine as much as I do. For me, I really like that shine, so where are we going to put you? So it's just something to keep in mind. Okay, just doing the single crochet chain here, I'm already noticing that the Simply Soft by Caron, the one I'm working on now, splits more. I did not notice quite as much splitting on the Soft Secret. This one definitely has more splitty issues. It is not as slick, though. It's not as slippery as the Soft Secret. So if you want something that is less slippery, then this one's going to have more... Whoops, I did a slip stitch there because I'm talking slippery. This one's going to be less slippery, but more splitty. For some reason, this one's just kind of sticking in my hand, which acrylic often does. It doesn't glide through my hand, which I guess is kind of the lack of slippery, but I know other yarns don't do that either. We're going to do one more row here. I have used this Caron Simply Soft to make sleeves on a sweatshirt, and I really like the result, although I am a little bit concerned about the wear on it. It's starting to pill just a tad. Okay. So here is our Simply Soft. Now, if we do a little bit of a comparison, the stitches on this seem like they're bigger. Let me get out my gauge. I have this handy dandy wraps per inch ruler, which tells me how big the yarn actually is. And if we take the blue, the Soft Secret, and we put it on the worsted, that's a pretty close. Yeah, I would definitely say that's a worsted. Now, the Simply Soft, they're pretty close. I think they're pretty comparable, although this one, for whatever reason, feels a little bit fluffier overall than the Simply Soft does. So that's a little bit of the comparison. Now let's set that aside and do our actual review. Okay, so our feel, I mean, that is 5 grannies all day long. It feels amazing. I love the way this feels. It's like a no-brainer. The color range at 48, that puts us at 3 grannies. I mean, there are quite a few. It's really close to 4 because I think there are like ombres. I think there's 2 of those. And sometimes they have other colorways that are not included in the main. So it's really close to 4, but we're going to leave it at 3. Content. It's an acrylic. I automatically take off a point for acrylic because there are some people that just don't like the feel of acrylic. They don't like the plastics being in the water and all of that kind of good stuff. I just happen to not prefer acrylic because it's a hotter yarn overall, so I just automatically take off a point for the content. 4 granny squares. Splitting. Okay, so I need to get a little bit more serious on my splitting here. I caught like 2 splits on this. And there are some yarns that I don't have split at all. So it's definitely one I have to work a little bit slower. So I'm going to give it 3 grannies. Stitch definition. Okay, let's talk about the item that I made, which is this balloon dog. I know it doesn't look like it's made with the same yarn, but that's because this has been sitting on my husband's desk collecting quite a bit of dust. He came out pretty good. I am not the best at amigurumi, so my stitches are a little bit gappier than I would really like, which is part of the reason why I gave up amigurumi. But you can definitely see some really good stitch definition overall. I'm pretty happy with that, but at the same time, there is a fuzz to this yarn. That's not uncommon with acrylic, and I've seen some people use, like, for something like this, they might use a lighter and just kind of lightly burn off some of that fuzz, but it definitely has an effect on the overall result. So we're going to give it 4 grannies. Okay, drape. The single crochet has a little bit less drape overall than, obviously, the double crochet. Double crochet is always going to be more drapey. It's actually, for a worsted weight, it's pretty darn good. I mean, it's not going to be a lay flat kind of thing. You still need to give it some block. So we're going to give it 4. Sometimes I think I'm a little bit too easy on these. Okay, let's try the frog. I haven't frogged this yet. Let's try the ribbit test. I'm not catching. I'm not having any issues whatsoever. I could pretty much put this on a winder and frog it that way and have no issues. 5 grands. Wash. I mean, you can hand wash it, but you can also throw it in the washer. You can throw it in the dryer. Everything is perfect. That's the only thing I like about acrylic is it's so easy to wash. Now, let's talk a little bit about the concerns. And one of the concerns is this slipperiness. So overall, I don't mind the slipperiness, but I know that that is a huge factor for some people. So I'm definitely going to keep that in mind. I also, it's not, so for concerns, we're going to give it that 4. No, you know what? We're going to give it 3 grands because a lot of people are really concerned about the slipperiness. So we're just going to take off for that. Now let's talk about the price. Compared to a standard skein of not like Red Heart, but average Hobby Lobby Yarn Bee. I love this yarn. You're getting less per skein. So those are usually about 55 yards more. And those are about $1 less. So bang for buck, this is going to be more expensive overall than a lot of the other yarns. So you're gonna, you gotta kind of make that trade-off of, do you want to pay more so that you get something that is super duper soft, has a little bit of a shine, and probably has more drape overall, or do you want something that's more budget friendly? Because of this price difference, I'm going to give it 3 granny squares. Okay, so if we do the math on that, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We get 3.8. That's what we got for the Yarn Bee Soft Secret. Now, I want to know from you, have you ever made anything with this? I think it would make a really, really lovely cardigan that would wear around the house and just be quite luscious overall. I also think, it's kind of cute for this little guy, but, this guy was hard to make. I want to know, though, what kind of yarn do you want me to review next? I have some in the works, but I'm always looking to find some more great yarns. Let me know in the comments below, and I will put them in the queue. Hey, Farah, frog us out of here.